last decade, and I think that cannabis is probably the finest treatment for migraine available in the world.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Oh, this is a very strange situation we have here with the government going to extreme measures to, threatening physicians' medical licenses.
Well, I suppose they have the right by law, but that doesn't mean that they have the right to make these decisions where they're dealing from a position of ignorance. I would make that accusation. I think that the situation needs to be changed, and at least physicians have to be part of the decision-making process to a greater extent than they've been able to do heretofore.
Have you? I'm just curious. Have you been able to? I don't know what I'm kind of short on words, but what's been the reaction of the medical community to your activity? Have you been able to make a connection, or do you find people
it's a
giving you a hard time or trying to
yeah, there are
here's
people
a
that
weirdo
do.
or trivialize what you're
Sure, I'm sure that there are people in my town of Missoula, Montana that don't refer to me anymore because of what I do, but I can't help that, and I can't be deterred by that. People that know me well realize that in my practice of medicine, I never do anything that I can't back up scientifically, and that applies to cannabis as well as my herbal medicine and the drugs that I use that are considered standard. So to me, it's all the same. If something has a scientific basis and it's safe and effective, that's the medicine I want to use. I feel strongly that I need to serve an educational purpose, not only for doctors, but for patients and the public as a whole, politicians if they'll listen. So certainly it's an effort we're trying to make, and I've made some friends along the way, and if I've made enemies, that's not my intent, but this is a situation where I feel I need to tell it as I see it.
Mm-hmm. So you're focusing on what the truth is and letting the chips fall where they will, so to speak.
You bet.
Is there any specialty within medicine that doesn't have a benefit from cannabis?
I can't think of
the
one.
oncologist. It's obvious. Have other specialties? Since 9/11, for example, the use of SSRIs and antidepressants has skyrocketed, and I think that reflects an increase in general paranoia and stress.
Right. Well, certainly cannabis has a place in psychiatry. If I had to name a place that's been the most ignored, it would be in obstetrics and gynecology. But we're addressing that with our next double issue, the journal I mentioned, the Women in Cannabis issue.
Great.
It's been part of the history, and I'd like to see it back in there. And this is something women want and women use.
And you're speaking both for premenstrual syndrome or even the birthing process?
Right. Now, obviously that sounds controversial, but the editor of the Journal of the American Medical Association in 1932 was still recommending cannabis in childbirth. So, that may sound like ancient history, but he knew what he was doing. And this is based on medicine that goes back to the Egyptians, ancient Egypt.
And so one thing about your journal is that the average person, is it something you have to be a physician or a scholar to?
Well, it would help, but it's not always necessary. As I've said, we try to mix it up and have articles that would have broad appeal and some that would be more suited to scientists. It's not Newsweek, but it also would have something of interest, I think, across a broad spectrum.
Dr. Russo, thank you so much for coming today and spending some time with us here on Louisville Late Night. And I think you'll be surprised that a few people will be tuning in to the website and becoming more educated about the therapeutic uses of cannabis.